Welcome. My name is Matt, aka Roadjet88. We are getting into Tricky Doors, Episode 6, Museum. Everything is drowning in silence and there is no one around. You are in a security room of the museum, but surely it isn't your workspace. How did you end up here? Every door is closed and everything is filled with a soft and red light. It is not the time to enjoy the arts. You have got you have to get out. So I definitely needed this today. I had a kind of a rough start this morning. As I've mentioned in past videos, I do suffer with veterans PTSD. And I woke up this morning apparently not out of the service. I'm done. I'm retired now. I did my job the best I could in those moments, and came out with a beautiful souvenir of nightmares that just will not go away, even when my eyes are open. So I started off this morning trying to do some videos, and I just was just not retired. So I had to take a little me time today, self-reflection, spend some time with my AA sponsor, stuff like that, just make sure I'm keeping my sanity and regrounding myself, all that stuff. And I had a little venting moment with my Doom game, and that helped for a moment until I could, get where I needed to be, with my sponsor and all. So get a little rest. I'm feeling a little better. So I've got a few good months of sobriety. So, but I'm still kind of working through my steps again in those early phases. So I'm trying to work on stuff. And this doing the gaming thing is one thing I'm testing out as part of personal therapeutic therapy for myself, redirection, regrounding. And there's a variety of things. Yeah, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. It's in the name. It was a name I came up with before I decided to open up my channel for gaming. But I'm more than just that. I'm not just a Star Wars fan. I have a great passion for it. It did help me with some childhood depression issues growing up, just because of the message that George Lucas put in this Star Wars. Disney has kind of rocked the boat for me, and I left between however my night was my PTSD sleep and waking up. It just I don't know what it was, but I'm human, and I don't mind allowing my human side be seen, because at one time I needed someone to allow me to see theirs so I could see I'm not the only one. And allowing others to see that they're not the only one, if that helps them, it's not a proud moment of mine, but if allowing someone to see that they're not the only ones, it's a thing of grace. And we can work. There's nothing so defeated, so broken, that cannot be worked through. Anything is solvable. Anything that feels impossible usually actually is possible. It just requires a little effort. We're a speck of dust caught in the wind of time. Didn't exist yesterday. We're here today. We'll be gone tomorrow. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. It's all what we do in the moment. And in the words of King Solomon, this too shall pass. Puzzles, like Tricky Doors, is one thing that allows me to meditate and reground with myself. And it was one of the reasons why I definitely needed this today. Just be quiet and be with myself. And since I was already kind of working on this for my channel, here we are. Whatever your purpose, why you enjoy puzzles, puzzle games or situations, it's whatever, you know. It is a thing of therapy. Let's just put it that way. Puzzles, it tests the discipline of patience, and it does allow us a moment of quiet, testing our intelligence, testing our capacity for a number of personal internal strengths. And anyone who is big on puzzles knows this. I don't have to tell you that. But there are a lot of people who get impatient with puzzles, and it's understandable, but it is a test of internal strength. And in moments like what I had this morning, I needed it. So, we get into this. This was an interesting one. I enjoy history. I enjoy a good museum. I grew up in Houston. We had NASA and some really awesome natural history museums there. And even in Albuquerque, there's some pretty good ones where I used to live before Houston. I was born in Texas, mostly grew up and lived in Texas, but had a brief moment in New Mexico. Anyone ever wants to... So yeah, I'm starting off just kind of picking stuff up. We got a tumbler locker we got to pick, and your combination is probably going to be different than mine, but if you watch, you'll see how I figured out the process of elimination concept. But you know, if anyone has ever thought about touring Texas, and curious as to where to go, kind of where the best places are. And I know there's things that pop up on the news that might frighten some people, but to be fair, yeah, okay. I live here, I see it. But depending on where you are, it's not all bad. If you're curious about a good place in Texas where you get to check out some historical spots or museum-like places in Texas, of course, there's the well-known The Alamo, which we talk a lot about. We have a lot of pride in that. That's in San Antonio, just south of Austin, our state's capital. And of course, there's Austin. It's been a while since I've been through there, but between San Antonio to Houston, where a lot of our Texas Revolution war was fought, there's a lot of various different places to kind of check out. Honestly, probably way too many for me to name. But the Alamo, San Antonio, you got the Alamo, and then you have the Riverwalk. They have the Alamo set up as like a museum to check out. The Riverwalk is a series. It's the river that, you know, some of their battles were kind of fought out along, but now there's some nice restaurants, businesses, a boat you can tour on riding along the river. Get to see some construction design concepts and whatnot. It's really, honestly, it's beautiful, especially at night. If you ever tour that at night, and the bandstand where like performers like Selena used to perform, there's that there. It really is an exciting place to check out. Then there is, in Houston, you got NASA, as I pointed out. Despite what you hear of contract situations and Cape Canaveral being shut down, the Johnson Space Center in Houston still runs its museum. They'll even talk to you in the very room that they filmed Apollo 13 in. It's and those guys are always ready to answer questions because immediately they know the tourists are gonna have questions about it. Those are kind of the two high spots I would recommend. Houston is highly cultural friendly. If anything, I was actually kind of a minority where I lived at in Houston, so I made some amazing friends. I got some awesome life perspective, teaching friends, I got a lot of respect for. So we got all kinds of combination stuff we got to figure out here. Albuquerque, I can't remember the name of the museum there. I think it was a form of a natural museum. I forget. But that one was pretty cool. They had some dinosaur fossils all through there. And in one room, they had a room that was like pitch black dark. And when you walked into it, all of a sudden it looked like you were walking on lava. It was crazy. Of course, it was a glass lighting trick concept. But I mean, it was. I know the first time I walked in there, it scared the crap out of me. Of course, I was a kid then, but I love a good museum. Where I live now, they think they have a museum, but there's not a whole lot special in the Northwest Panhandle of Texas. Like almost nothing. They do a lot of boasting around here, but they really have nothing to show for. I mean, they talk about Buddy Holly around where I'm at, and honestly, I didn't even know who Buddy Holly was until I moved back here. Anywhere else I went to, I knew nothing about him. Seemed like everywhere else they knew nothing about him. But maybe that's just me. Alright, so we do need to count those rifles, axe, and swords over here for the combination. I lost a little bit of my video feed somehow because I have to do these in 30-second increments from my Switch for the upstream. I do finally have my capture card, but I'm having to get my editing software put together and figured out. So there might be about another week of this before I'm finally streaming up, preferably 3D games where I can have smooth run-throughs. Get away from this choppiness. I do appreciate anyone who's been following and the patience and understanding on it. It does mean a lot to me. So I put in the wrong combo. I had to go back out. I miscounted the axe. For some reason, the way they had them formed, I counted it as one. Alright. While I was out here, though, when I came back out here, I realized there was a few more things to collect and go ahead and address. Easy to knock out, so I went ahead and tackled them. Completely ignored that save for a moment. But I did recount the axe. And I kind of lost the upload scene of me opening the combination, so heads up on that when we go back to that save. But my combination was 425. I don't know if it's going to be different for yours, so I'd be careful about trying to copy what the combinations and puzzle solving that I do on my videos, because they do come out random. Some of them are random. Like I said, I lost this scene of me opening, but it was for me it was 425. Then there's this ham radio. My dad had a thing for ham radios. He would actually buy antique ones, take them apart, like old antique ones that weren't working. He would take them apart and repair them and get them back to working and resell them. He has a thing for ham radios and old antique watches, clocks. He tried to get me into it, but God, there's a lot of tedious pieces in a watch. All the springs and pins. I love a good puzzle, but geez. He's got that kind of brain for that type of puzzling. I don't. I mean, I love a good puzzle, but geez. That's a jigsaw in itself. Too many parts, I got lost. Trying to look inside the watch with a freaking microscope lens. Okay, so with this one, we want to get the soldiers each holding a bomb in between them from one end to the other end. So it just got a matter of messing them, getting them to... See, the bombs disappeared on that top row, so I had to put them back. Alright, once we get it open, grab the oiler. Not the Houston Oilers, they no longer exist. The Tennessee Titans. Honestly, I really don't follow that much football, just barely enough to even know what it is. But if I were to follow a football team, I would say Houston Texans over Dallas. I honestly, since Troy Aikman days, I've lost interest. Romeo kind of killed it for me. Not to mention the owner. Kind of a condescending brat. But used to when I was in the Navy, Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, part of my volunteer work that they had us do was actually help host the home games at the Reliant Stadium for the Houston Texans. That was a lot of fun. And then at the end of the season, they treated us with a free home field level, like tickets to the field level part of the stadium for the last home game. That was fun. Kind of sucked though on the hot days because we had Six Flags Astroworld just right across the parking lot from the Reliant Stadium. We were like burning hot trying to do our work with for the stadium, our volunteer work. We'd look over to the Six Flags over there at the water park section and be like, wishing we could just jump in, cool down. Jeez. So, blow a hole through the door. Who doesn't want to do that? We're gonna come through here, grab a few more things. There's more of that plywood, all that stuff. I kept coming back to the zipper trying to figure out how the heck I'm supposed to open that. It finally came to me a little later though. Thought maybe I could bust that thing open with a hammer. For some of these puzzle solvings where we want to try to get out without tripping security, we sure do a lot of vandalism. We did the same thing with the amusement park. There's like a Plato Socrates kind of situation, I'm guessing. It's kind of what it looked like. I'm trying to think who the third one could possibly be. And I might even be wrong on the Plato Socrates thing part, but that's almost what it looks like. We got a age puzzle thing here. We're missing some parts. So far I've only got 104 of the parts, the knobs. But it looks like eras, different eras of our times. See what I mean? We didn't want to trip the security alarm in the security office, but yeah, here we are breaking the statue. If we were a security guard, we just got fired. So I'm just gonna continue grabbing stuff, trying to figure stuff out here. Man, don't you just hate it when you can't get your zipper to unzip? Hey, 6 plywood. Now what is this for? I thought maybe it was like for boarding across something. No, not for these. Again, it's just a matter of process of elimination, stretching around. Ah! Well, this makes sense. Scaffold. And I don't recall collecting these board pieces in this, looking like this, but okay. Now we got a new puzzle situation. You gotta get the boards going from end to end, fitting, interlocking with each other. Fun. As I said earlier, puzzle is a test of patience. No process of elimination. Well, damn. Sometimes you just gotta take it apart and try again, you know. But there's nothing that's unsolvable in life. There's always a solution somewhere, you just gotta know where to look. How do I keep running into the same dead end? Had to reset. Reboot. Oh, what did I say? Plato was Socrates. The other guy might have been Aristotle. Maybe. I'm guessing if that's what those figurines, those statue heads are supposed to be of. If they were philosophers, if they were statues of the Greek, Roman times philosophers, I mean, come on, we're in a museum. I guess it was Aristotle I was trying to think of. You know, as a kid, one thing I always hated about watching Jeopardy with my dad, he always made us look bad. open sesame with a screwdriver on this thing once we're finally up at the top of the scaffold. And I see the head, but apparently we need a light to grab it. What, are we afraid someone's going to jump out and bite us? So, as you saw, I got the oil can on that zipper. I guess depending on what kind of oil that was, it gets it lubricated enough to finally unzip it. And got Keith. Like, seriously, I have to have the light just to grab what I can already see. What's that old, there's another thing of philosophy, I think, or something. You know, when I was a child, I was afraid of the dark, but now as an adult, I'm afraid of the light because of what I can see. You know, and I think it's kind of in the direction, you know, the more you learn, the more you're able to see, the more you understand, the more you have to fear. I could be wrong, but I feel like this is like Plato's, Aristotle, and Socrates. Suppose it's something we could look up. The beauty of Google. There's more to Google than just the gutter. Yeah, this took me a moment. Like, I got the idea. Basically, what you're trying to get the correct head on the correct torso onto the correct legs. Took me a minute. Trying to figure out the order of how to organize this. Jeez. You can only stack so much on top of each other. Like, obviously, I figured out the head and torso I'm working on. I figured those two out. I kind of figured out the body. It was a matter of getting it to coincide. Something about that did not look right. It looked right. I clearly have an oversight. Nope. Gotta play around a little bit. Nope. Well, I figured out that head and torso. And that head and torso. Which philosopher of mine belonged to who? Now, I gotta be honest, I do get a little jumbled up as to what each of the philosophers would have advocated for. And I know a couple of them kind of philosophized against each other. I'm trying to remember Socrates and Aristotle. I feel like those two kind of didn't quite see eye to eye with each other, which, a lot of us do that in our society, and it's all right. I mean, we're all different. I believe the difference really is meant to help bring us together, not being hoarded and weaponized against each other. But I mean, that's just, in my opinion. We'd have less division if we had the grace of accepting the difference. Because if there's anything I learned being, like I said earlier, where I lived in Houston, I was actually kind of a minority. Majority of my friends were, like a third of the Houston population is Oriental. A chunk of my friends were Oriental and Middle Eastern. I learned a lot from them. And if you're talking about spiritual concepts, in the end game, the open approach, how we go about it, might be different, but the end result leads to the same result. Some of my greatest friends are people who didn't walk the same faith path as me, and I had a lot to learn from them. So I'm kind of backtracking around. All right, so I missed this earlier. Cassette tapes. Organize them in the order that they would have happened. Well, 100-Year War, American. Hold on. So there's the 100-Year War, the American Revolutionary War, the Napoleonic War, the American Civil War, World War I, World War II. So obviously this is it's kind of feeling like an American museum. They kind of threw in some of the other international stuff. But, okay, if I'm correct, I believe the 100-Year War was back in the Greek-Roman era. Hence, it lasted 100 years, hence the name. But I want to say that was within the Greek and Roman era. And our next puzzle was leading up to that puzzle of the eras. And then there's the American Revolutionary War, Napoleonic Wars, that's all on the seas, American Civil War. So, yeah, that would be the order for those. Once again, I just went blank on a lot of timelines. Like I know that it's in the back of my head. I just can't dig it out. But again, like I said, the beauty of Google. So I mean, those wars were like from the Greek Roman Empire eras all the way up to the 1930s. So the Napoleonic, I'm trying to remember, that was like the 1700s, 1800s. Civil War 1800s, late 1800s. World War I, like early 1900s. So I just had specific days I'm going blank. Like I said, I've had a long day. So, okay, we gotta get the knobs put in the right era. Like the chef hat would need to be with the cookery stuff. The, or just, certain features of certain eras, that trumpet will need to be up with those music notes. The scale and weight, I think over with that girl holding the sword, that would have been like the days of the philosophy, I suppose. That blacksmith hammer with the blacksmith, probably Stone Age era. The graduate's hat with the space arrow. That field knife with the farm, probably the pioneering, it's kind of dealing with pioneers, or maybe not necessarily pioneers, but I think we get the gist. I hate PTSD sometimes. It just gets too much in the way of proper thinking. Before that, man, I was a pretty keen edge. I actually graduated high school early. Had a chance for pre-med. Detoured into service, so, if you got an opportunity to really do something good for yourself, take advantage of it. Even if there's a detour opportunity, I mean, the intentions might be well set, but sometimes even the well-intended decisions of last path sometimes going to end up having a backfire effect. I mean, it's just choose their own what they decide they want to do, and I've always had an interest to want to help people and serve, but it was in the fine print of my recruitment contract. I wasn't going to come out the same as I went in. They made it loud and clear. I don't know. Too bad car salesmen can't do the same thing with their contract fine prints. Make it loud and clear. Lawyers too. Jeez. Yeah, you go through the kind of service academy, boot camp. They're gonna make it. They're gonna make sure you understand as you're signing. Hey, if you're serious about this, you're not coming out the same way you're coming in. You're probably gonna come out a little screwed. They are not kidding about it. That's just part of the territories of sacrifice, The intentions might be good, but you gotta ask yourself if it's something you can live with, because once you do, there's no turning back. It took me a minute. One of the key helpful things is when these things will lighten up when you have them set in the right arrow spot. There was a few times I came pretty close, and as I'm watching the retake of my play, I'm realizing how close I was a couple of times and completely had an oversight. Didn't realize how close I was a couple of those moments. But, we've had other puzzles in this game where it feels like we're getting close and we have to find ourselves on the backtrack just a little. That's just part of the test of patience with puzzles. Certain types of puzzles. This is pretty intricate, or kind of an interesting one, I thought. Took me the longest out of all the other ones, if you noticed. I got to it though. I mean, obviously I'm releasing this video because I did get it, but It took me a minute. So, if it's taking you a minute, don't feel bad. Like, I got the gist immediately, you know, where the knobs needed to be. It was a matter of navigating. That was the real trick. At least it was for me. I gotta say, this was a good one though. It had me having to take a minute to really think and work at it. I enjoy a puzzle that does that to me. As I pointed out, I'm forgetting specific dates and stuff. It's one reason why I like going back to puzzles, because it challenges me to retest my mind on things that I don't want to lose my edge on, you know? If there's any chance I can keep something about myself still sharp, stuff like this helps. I think I should be getting close to finally having it. It took me a minute. I was born with a heart defect. That medical section kind of takes me back a little bit. Spent the first 5 years of my life in and out of the hospital, having to have heart surgeries and stuff. Foot and stiff. Life may throw some curveballs at us, but it's never anything we can't find a way to survive, endure, work through. It's a test of character and strength. Throwing in the white towel surrender. I mean, yeah, okay, sure, maybe it is an option, but it's not one where you come out on top winning. In the end, resolving a problem, one that actually works, one that is peaceful, that's something to be proud of right there. There's some self-earned pride right there. We got a lot of people running around with false prides because they don't want to put effort into what they have. But when you work at something, blood, sweat, and tears, there's something to be proud of. It shows you're a survivor. The scars you get, those are your badge of honor, badge of courage. And they're medals. They might be painfully tattooed onto your body, but it says something about the person. It says something about their strength, their courage, the fact they're still here, pushing. They didn't let it get them down. So, there is a museum in, yeah, I need to get my editing software up and going. That sound is off. Okay, so, that was a museum, 100%. For episode 6. Next will be episode 7, the hospital. Jeez, why did I have to start talking about that? Oh my gosh. I know where my mind's gonna go when I go into this. Anyways, that was Tricky Doors, episode 6, museum. Subscribe to the channel, like the videos, comments, questions, suggestions down below, and thank you for following.